Welcome back to the TNR Thursday Night Racing Group C Championship, and we're into the closing stages here, this time at Nurburgring GP. We've got a fairly full grid today, with Dugamer starting on pole. He set a rapid lap in the Mercedes in practice to go fourth fastest. Lee, one of the quickest guys though on the grid, and championship leader in the Nissan, starts alongside, with Oz in third place in the orange and white Mercedes. Coop starts fourth. He's got some catching up to do in terms of the championship. Then we've got Mark, Chrysler, Dubs, Dom and Andy at the rear of the grid with the lights on the front of the Nissan. We watch the Mercedes in black and gold at the front, and he makes a really poor getaway, and he's nowhere. Lee takes the lead off of the line. Championship leader is going to lead into turn one. Oz tries to go alongside. He braves it on the outside. Excellent braking from Oz as they try to turn in. Oz is going to take the lead. It's a fantastic manoeuvre around the outside, and the Mercedes takes the lead ahead of Lee's Nissan, but it's only a matter of one corner before Lee's already back on the case, because there's just no turn in. Lee goes into the side of the Mercedes, and there's contact. Is Oz going to give one back? He is, and that's fair play, and Mark goes into the back of him, or was it Coops? And now, out of all of it, Oz comes through in the lead still, just ahead of Lee and Coops, but Oz runs wide. He's gone through the kitty litter, and he's going to come back on. There's contact, there's cars off everywhere. Lee inherits the lead ahead of Coops, so the two Nissans out in front. Oz has managed to recover to third, and Mark is still stuck behind him in fourth in the other Nissan. There was contact earlier on, don't forget. And Mark goes off into the gravel, I think on his own, and we've got Andy in up to fourth from the rear of the grid. Dom's in fifth in the fantastic looking silver Mercedes. Dubs goes through the kitty litter, through the S's, and Mark gains a position off of him, and time to take a breath for a moment. Dukes, pole sitter, is all the way back in eighth, and Chrysler is in the gravel trap and is a long way back, but Lee out in front, good advantage over Coops at the moment, 1.5 seconds up. Oz is holding on brilliantly to third in Mercedes, but I think it's a matter of time. No, because Mark spun! Mark drops down the order. Mark was catching them, and now he's lost out an awful lot of time, and that's going to be painful for the championship as far as he's concerned. Just 2 points behind Lee coming into the race. Here we go with Dubs in fourth. He's actually having a relatively good run. We did see him through the gravel on that first lap, and Andy's dropped to the back as well again, so not quite sure what happened to Andy. We missed that, but out in front it is Lee, holding a gap of between 1 and 2 seconds. It's ebbing and flowing slightly, and there's not too much to watch there, so we're going to have a look at Dom, who gets past Dubs. Dubs has gone a little bit deep, I think, and in the background we've got Mark and Dukes going side by side. Nissan versus Mercedes. Mercedes trying to get up the inside. Mercedes has got a fair bit of poke, and they've got Andy behind with the lights on in the Nissan, so it's 3 cars all fighting over the 6th position, and out just ahead of them you've got Dom and Dubs. Dubs really doing a very good job in that Jag, the worst of the worst unfortunately in terms of car choice, as it's turned out to be, but he's hanging on quite well to 5th with Dom just ahead in the silver arrow. And you can see the Jag going all over the curves, and he's gone through the gravel trap again. That's the 2nd lap in succession, so Mark manages to capitalise, gets back up to 5th place. Out in front I can tell you Lee is pulling away from Coops slightly, and actually Oz is still holding on to 3rd, but they've dropped almost 10 seconds off of the race lead so far. And this has turned out to be quite an interesting race. They bounce over the curve at the final chicane before blasting their way down to the final hairpin. It's quite a fast corner this. You can get a fairly good launch out of here, and I think Andy's going to struggle to catch the guys in front down the straight. But I think Mark is actually going to go for a move on Dom, is he? Down into turn 1, it looks like a really good move. He's hard on the brakes. Dom gives him space. Really good driving by all 3 of these guys. No touching there. Fine bit of driving actually from those lads, and they continue status quo at the moment. Mark having got through there to the 4th place. So Mark will go on the chase down for that final podium spot. My prediction was for 3 races with 3 Nissans blocking out the podium each time, and that prediction is only about half a second away from happening, because Mark is right on the case of Oz as they come down the hill. It's very, very tricky this, because you're heading such a speed down the hill, then hard on the brakes before turning in. It is a banked corner. Oz goes deep. Oh, he recovered it so quickly, but Mark was straight through there. So good driving by Mark, opportunist again, because Mark has not had a great start to this race, but he's made a couple of good moves to get back up to 3rd so far. We have lost, I think, Chrysler from the race so far. So there's only 1 Jaguar running, and that is Dubs in 7th place out of 8 at the moment. And out front the gap has narrowed. We've now got Coops closing in on the race leader. We go on board with Coops heading out of the final turn, 130, 140, 150, 160 miles per hour out of the Nissan, and then we just pan back out going into turn 1. There's nothing he can do here, because he's still around about a second behind, half a second to a second. We can't really expect too much, because they're in the same car type, as we've got more change positions behind. We've got Oz fighting with Andy. Andy looking for an opportunity. He goes to the right, he goes to the left. Oz brakes very conservatively. Andy's going to try and drive all the way around the outside. Can't quite do it. Oz holds on to 4th place at the moment. And Andy and Dom trying to chase him down. Now Andy's going to have another go here. That was a bit ambitious from Andy, but he does back out of it. Gives Oz the place back. It's the right thing to do, because I think that was a bit too ambitious. Oz goes a little bit heavy on the power coming out the corner, loses traction. He's under pressure again as they head into the corner, and Andy took avoiding action of Oz and then ended up running into Dom instead. But thankfully they've all got through, and Andy's the one that's lost out because of all of that. I think having some difficulty probably controlling braking on the pad, and Dom just losing out a little bit to Oz there, and that's going to put him under pressure from Andy. We'll go on board with Andy as we go through the Schumacher S's, and look at the washing wide, and that's really because of the dropped downforce that you get from the dirty air from the car in front. Oz goes very slow through the chicane, holds up Dom no end, and now Andy's going to have another go at Dom. Can't quite do it there. They'll go down the hill almost side by side. The Mercedes has got a quick engine, it's got a powerful engine. As we head down towards the final chicane, who's going to be the latest of the late breakers? They go through status quo, but Dom makes a mistake on the brake, and Oz is also quite slow on the brake, so Andy's through past Dom and actually immediately putting Oz under pressure for 4th place. There's contact again, I think, or did Andy just back out of that? We didn't really catch that quite in time, but Andy's having a lot of trouble just not being able to find the space. Andy did allude to this in practice, said it can be a bit difficult to overtake here. Dom goes for a very late dive, I think he completely messes up the brakes, and Oz gets collected and taken out. So Oz drops down the order as a result of that. None of his own doing at all. Dom just got his braking all wrong. I think he was trying to match the Nissan for the braking, and the Mercedes cars just don't seem to have the same level of braking grip. As we watch Coops now, he hasn't got the beer in hand tonight, and it's paying dividends so far, because he's staying well in touch with Lee, but he's not able to put him under enough pressure for that win just yet, and this is crucial. This is all to do with the championship points. Lee is actually ahead despite the fact that Lee has missed a round, but Coops did miss out a round last week, so it's kind of even Stevens on that front. Mark, the only one in the top 3 who's not missed around, and Coops really probably is about as close as he's been all race so far. There's just about 3/10 in it, and needs a good exit out of here. He controls it nicely, doesn't lose the back end. That was pretty good from Coops, I would say. That's not going to give an opportunity down into turn 1 though. Looks like Lee's got it set up quite slippery, and just manages to get down the straight quite nicely. A little bit of lag going on there, but the cars are almost as one, and this is the closest battle on track. Just a couple of tenths now between them. Coops can sniff an opportunity, but hopefully he's not going to go for anything naughty. It almost runs into the back of Lee. There could have been a small touch there actually, but very well driven between the two. They're being very courteous of each other. And this is quite a good corner. It's right hand, this is bank. You can really spank on the power as you come out the turn. And then down the hills we were talking about earlier, really, really tricky element on the brakes. And you can see Coops moving around, just trying to put Lee under a little bit of pressure. Lee does make a mistake. That could be an opportunity, but I don't think it's quite enough traction as they head through the S's. Coops does the right thing, he backs out of it. It's lost him a lot of time though, the washing on the front end of that car from the dirty air of Lee's car. And now this could be over for this race because we are on the final lap. We have got about a third of a lap left to run. There's really only a couple of opportunities, the first of which is down into the chicane here. I don't think it's going to happen this time though, because Coops is a long way back. He needs to look at a phenomenal X out the hairpin. Oh, he goes for it, messes up, runs wide, goes through the shallower chicane, has to back out of it, and it's a anticlimax ending with Lee taking another great victory, but Coops messing it up and losing his only opportunity there. But there are plenty more races to go, and let's not forget Lee started on the front row, so Coops doing a good job. Mark pulled some great manoeuvres after too many first lap incidents, got caught up in a couple of things, but I think he'll be fairly happy to come home in third. And it is Nissan's all in the top 4 places as Andy comes from the back of the grid, flash of the lights over the line. Dom will be the best of the rest man this time, the number 62 silver Mercedes. Dubs gets a reasonable result. He's struggled this season with that car. It has been, let's be honest, shite. So Dubs getting a pretty decent result. Oz, after being taken out, finishes 7th, and Dukes rounds up the finishes in 8th with Chrysler, a non-finisher.